Okay, so this video is going to be going over evaluating logs by expanding. So what we need to know is we need to know our log properties, of course. And so our log properties, once again, because I don't know what order you guys will watch the videos in. The first log property says if you have two terms inside that are being multiplied together, that you can separate them into their own logs with addition. And this is the direction we're going to be using these rules in these notes. If multiplication inside of the log results in addition, then the opposite would also be true. If you have two things inside of the log that are being divided, then you can separate them into their own logs with subtraction. And if you've already watched these laws in the previous video, then you can of course fast forward through this part if you need to. And then the third law that we're going to be using for these says that if you have a power inside of your log, now granted it's the whole term inside of the log that's being raised to the power, then the power will move down to the front and it will become a coefficient, it'll become multiplication. And those are the three that we're going to be using to do these next couple of problems, okay? So, what we have been given are given information for these problems. We've been told that log base 4 of 3 is equal to 0.792. And we've been told that log base 4 of x is equal to 1.161. And we're going to use those two givens to evaluate some logs. So the first log we're going to evaluate, number 1, is log base 4 of 36 over x. And so what we do is we use our log properties to expand this log as much as we need to into separate logs so that we can evaluate it. So we could start out by simply dealing with the division. We have 36 divided by x inside of the log. So I'm going to split them up into separate logs and do log base 4 of 36 minus log base 4 of x. But I don't know what log base 4 of 36 is, so I'm going to need to split that 36 up even more. And 36 is the same thing as 4 times 9. And so I could go ahead and I could split that up. Those two things are being multiplied, so I could split those two up into separate logs with addition. So it would be log base 4 of 4 plus log base 4 of 9. And then the minus log base 4 of x is still there. I'm just not doing anything with it right now. But we also don't know log base 4 of 9. But we do know that 9 is 3 squared. And if we rewrite the 9 as 3 squared, then we can take this squared, this exponent, and we can move it down to the front. And so that would give us log base 4 of 4 for the first log. We would now have 2 log base 4 of 3 for the second log. And then the third log is log base 4 of x. And now we can actually evaluate all of these and get a final answer. So log base 4 of 4 is just 1 plus 2 times log base 4 of 3 right there, was one of our givens up here at the top. We know that it's equal to 0.792. And don't forget there was a 2 out in front of it, so that 2 would still need to multiply to it. And then minus, and then this last log, log base 4 of x, was our second given, and it is 1.161. Okay, and so you would now just be able to do the arithmetic. I'm assuming you would use a little baby calculator or your phone or something to do the quick multiplication and addition and subtraction. And what you would get is 1.423. And so I would suggest you pause for just a second and you confirm that when you actually do the arithmetic, that's what you get. Okay, so now the second problem I'm going to do is much simpler because we don't actually need our two givens. And so you'll see why. Okay, so the second question is log base 4 of 1/64. Now, technically, I can evaluate this without using any log properties at all, but I do want to show you how you can also use your log properties. So, using the same method we did in the previous problem, we do have division going on inside of this log, so we could separate them into two separate logs. So we would have log base 4 of 1 minus log base 4 of 64. And now we can just evaluate each log separately because log base 4 of 1 is 0. Because remember what question that log is asking you. It's asking you 4 to what power is 1. And so one of the log properties we talked about before spring break said log base b of 1 is always 0. Okay? And then this log base 4 of 64 is 3, because what it's asking you is 4 to what power is 64. And it's 4 cubed. That is 64. And so 0 minus 3 just gives us -3 as our answer. And so, like I said, you could have evaluated this original problem. If you read that log to yourself as a question, the question it was asking you is 4 to what power is 1/64. And -3 is the power that would flip the 4 and cube it and make it 1/64, so our answers do agree. And then the last problem we're going to try in the notes is log base 4 of 9/16x. So back to being like the first problem, okay? So we've got division going on again, but you've got to be careful this time because we have our log base 4 of 9, and then down here in the denominator we have two things that are being divided. So they're both going to get their own logs separated by subtraction. So we would have log base 4 of 16 being subtracted, and we would also have log base 4 of x being subtracted. Now, normally we would want to split this 9 up as 3 squared and do that all, but we did that in the previous problem in question 1, and so we already know it's going to end up being a 2 out in front and then a log base 4 of 3, which is the 0.792 that we were given. Then this log can be evaluated without our given information. Okay, this is saying 4 to what power is 16? It's a question mark. And so this log is simply going to be a 2. And then this log is one of our givens as well. Log base 4 of x is 1.161. And so now, once again, we can go ahead and do the arithmetic. So pause for just a second, please, and do the actual number crunching. And if you paused and did the actual number crunching, you should have gotten negative 1.577. Okay? So the problems that you guys are going to try for practice are these. Okay? Here's your given information. So you're going to use that log base b of 2 is approximately 0.631. So you have the same number of decimal places as your other given, which is log base b of 7 is approximately 1.7712. So those are your two givens. And then you're going to evaluate these problems. So number 1 is going to be log base b of 3.5. Number 2 is going to be log base b of 4b cubed. And the last one is going to be log base b of 2b squared over 49. Okay, so give those 3 problems a shot and ask for help. We'll be glad to help you guys if you need it. Thanks.